Hello, well this is another video in the Random Linux Stuff playlist, and this one is on the SetUID bit and the setGroupID bit. Having said that, the SetUID bit and setGroupID bit largely have the same functionality, with a few differences, but in the description of this video you will find an additional feature with regards to the setGroupID bit. But for what we are going to discuss, they have the same functionality. We'll see what they are, how they can be set, how to unset them, and of course there will be a little demo. Now when a user logs into the system, this user will usually end up in a shell based upon the entry in the etc password file. So for example, the user Rocky will have a username, a user ID, a group ID, a general comments field, a login directory and a shell. The relevant fields with regards to the SetUID bit are the user ID and the shell. So when the user logs in, a shell will be started for this user, and connected to the shell there will be a user ID, which kind of determines what the user is allowed to do with respect to reading and writing and executing of files. However, next to the UID, which is also referred to as the real UID, the one from the password file, there's also an effective user ID or EUID. This EUID is next to the real user ID connected to the shell, and it is the same as the real user ID. So for example, Rocky has user ID 1000, and automatically the effective user ID will also be 1000. Now here's the thing, whenever a user runs an external program, so a program that's loaded into memory from disk, the shell will fork a new process in which the program will be executed, and when the program is finished it will exit, and the user can continue working in the shell and run the next program. When such a program gets started, it will be executed with the effective user ID of the user, not with this real user ID. So the child shell that runs the program will run it with Rocky's effective user ID, which is 1000 in this case. You'll know that in order to be able to run a program, the program needs to be executable, so the execute bit will have to be set. In comes the SetUID bit. If we add the SetUID bit to the executable, the child process we just mentioned will have an effective user ID of the owner of the program. So for example, the owner of the password command is root, and if the user executes the password command to change its password, the effective user ID of this child process differs from the real user ID. So during the lifetime of that child, Rocky will have an effective user ID of 0. And in the case of the password command, it's absolutely necessary that this command has the SetUID bit set, because Rocky with user ID 1000 is not permitted to read or write the file that stores the passwords of users. And this file is etc shadow. So if there would be no SetUID bit on the password command, a user would never be able to change his own password. So let's have a quick look at programs that by default have a SetUID bit set. And we see the S bit where we would expect an execute bit. Like with the cat command, there is an execute bit, not an S bit. Okay, now let's first see how it is set before we go to an example. The easiest way to set it using the symbolic mode, by which we define the user or group and the permission we want to add or remove using a plus sign, and the executable of course. And if we want to reset it, we simply use the minus sign like this. Now let's go for a demo. We will first remove the SetUID bit from the password binary and check whether Rocky is still able to change the password. And then we will add the SetUID bit to the cat command, which we should never do in real life. So we first remove the SetUID bit from the password binary. And now as Rocky we will change our password. Well, obviously we fail because our effective user ID is 1000, and this user ID is definitely not able to read or write the shadow file. So we reset the SetUID bit and we retry to change our password. And we succeed. And just for fun, to do it the other way around with the cat command, as Rocky I try to cat the shadow file, and obviously I fail because I'm not allowed to read it. Now we enable the SetUID bit on the cat command, and we try it again, and now we succeed. So please let's reset the cat command because this is definitely not what we want. And we're done.